Hello and welcome to this session. This is Professor Farhat, in which we will discuss residual dividend policy. Now, in the prior session, what I did, and I talked about dividend in general. What's dividend? Why do company pays dividend? And why do they keep the money in retained earning if they don't pay dividend? The pros and the cons, so on and so forth. In this session, we'll focus a little bit more about the residual dividend policy, where we include some computation. So we're going to pay dividend only after funding all profitable investment at the target capital structure. So companies don't haphazardly decide on the dividend. They have a plan. So first they determine their planned expenditure. How much money do they need for next year? Because if they plan, then they will know how much money they need, and as a result they will determine how much money to keep or to pay out. Then they identify the target debt and equity mix. How much are we going to borrow? How much are we going to raise through equity, which is part of it retained earning, which is part of it profit. Then they would compute the equity finance required. Equity finance required means what? It means how much do we need from equity to finance our capital expenditure. What's capital expenditure? Expanding, building new plants, warehouses, so on and so forth. Then we use current earning to supply that equity, because our earnings is part of equity. Then we distribute the remaining as dividend. So this is the policy. So dividend are residual, what's left after investments needs are met. So we don't just take the profit immediately and decide to distribute it. Before we distribute it, we want to know as a company, how much do we need to finance ourselves from that earnings, from that equity. This is what we will discuss in this session, starting with the residual dividend policy formula. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we proceed any further, I have a public announcement about my company, FarhatLectures.com.
My AI turns any lecture into a complete study system. You can create summary table, formulas, and example from each lecture. Flashcard builds from the lesson itself. A quiz build on the lesson. And as a bonus, convert any lecture into a portable short audio on the go. So it helps you with the retention. No noise, no generic responses, just clarity based on that specific lecture. Don't just watch, interact, test yourself, and retain the material using Farhat AI. Now go to FarhatLectures.com now and see how the AI can help you understand, practice, and retain the material.
The formula is, the residual dividend formula is net income minus we subtract the equity portion of capital budget. So we need to know how much our capital budget need to be financed through equity. So what is the equity portion? It's total capital budget multiplied by a target equity percentage. Don't worry, as always, once we have a formula, we would look at it. So remember, net income is the total after-tax profit available for the year. This is net income. We all know what net income. The equity portion is basically earnings. It's the capital budget times the target equity percentage, which is the retained earnings needed to finance our capital project. How much do we need? And how do we know that? Based on our capital structure. Don't worry, we'll work an example that will clarify it. And then we come up with residual dividend, which is amount available for shareholders, by taking net income, which is net income, minus whatever we keep for capital budgeting. That's basically all what it is. But if we don't work with numbers, it doesn't make any sense. So we're looking at CAB System Inc. They targets a debt to equity ratio 1:2. Now we have to understand this debt to equity ratio. It's debt to equity. So 1:2. Debt and equity. Debt plus equity equal to assets. So assets equal to 3. Debt is 1. Debt is 1. And equity is 2. So basically we have $3 of assets. 1 is debt and 2 is equity. Because if we take debt over equity, it's 1/2. Now, also we would know our debt to asset, which is 1/3 debt to asset. So this 1/3 is 1/3 because the 3 is asset. And 2/3 is 2 equity, 2 to 3. So our company is financed 1/3 debt, 2/3 equity. Okay, great. Net income is 150,000 for this period, and capital budget that we need 120,000. We have everything that we need. Let's start with step one, the debt portion of the capital budget. The debt portion is 1/3, because notice we say of our assets, 1/3 is coming from debt. How did we get the third? Because debt to equity is 1:2. Debt plus equity, 1 plus 2 equal to 3. Now on the exam, they might give you a different ratio. They might tell you the debt to equity is 3:5. It means asset is 8. Therefore, it's 5/8 and 3/8. Because debt plus equity equal to the asset, your basic accounting equation. So 1/3 of the capital project financing comes through debt. Guess what's the other 2/3 comes from, which is 1/3 of 120 is 40,000. 2/3 comes from equity. So if we need to finance 120,000, 2/3 of that amount should come from equity, which is 80,000. Step 3 is the retained earning required. Well, what's the retained earning required? 80,000. 80,000 is the equity required. It's right here. The equity portion required is 80,000. Great. Step 4. What's the residual dividend? What's my net income? My net income is 150 minus what I need to finance capital budgeting through equity, which I told you it's 80,000. Well, 150 minus 80,000, what's left? 70,000. What can I do with this 70,000? Pay it out in dividend. I can practically do anything with it. So CAB system can distribute 70,000 as dividend while maintaining 1:2 debt to equity ratio, because the whole point of this distribution is to maintain 1:2. 1:2 debt to equity. Simply put, we added 40,000 of debt, 80,000 of equity. So 40,000 divided by 80,000, just to kind of make sure you know this, it's one half. So we maintained the same debt to equity ratio. So let's assume it's the same company, same ratio, but capital budgeting increased to 225 and net income is 150. So of that 225, so the capital budgeting, now we're going to change the scenario to 225. 1/3 of it is financed through debt. 1/3 of 225 is 75. So 1/3 times 225 equal to 75. 2/3 of 225 equal to 150. Great. Now guess what? We made 150 in profit, of which we need the whole amount for the capital budgeting to keep the ratio the same. Therefore, guess how much left for residual dividend? Nada. The common shareholders will not get any money, because all the profit that we made under this scenario, we need to reinvest to be able to finance this 225,000 in this large warehouse that we are investing in. So when the equity financing requirement equal or exceed net income, the residual dividend is 0, or the company must issue new stocks. We're going to assume we're not going to get there, but yes. So why some companies don't pay dividend? Kind of we touch upon them if they're going through a rapid growth and they need the money. We just told you. Sometimes they can't. They need the money to refinance themselves. Therefore, they will need to keep it. They don't pay it out. 2, expected downturn. Basically, you want to keep the money for bad times to avoid emergency borrowing and seize opportunities during downtime. Also during downtime, although you may not be affected, but if you have the cash, that might give you some excellent opportunities. 3, financial distress. Weak cash flow or high debt burden may force dividend suspension to protect liquidity and ensure survival. In the prior session, I gave you 2 examples, GE and British Petroleum, where if they are in financial distress, one thing that they can cut to survive is dividend. And major planned investment, capital needed for acquisition, new facilities, product development, and this is what we computed earlier, technology upgrade, to deliver a better return. Then we need to keep the money, not pay out dividend. Some advantages of paying cash dividend: provide current income to shareholders. They are happy, attract income-oriented investors, signal confidence, reduce uncertainty about shareholder return, impose financial discipline, and support a stable market value, because if you pay dividend, it's easier to value your shares. Now, for every advantage, must be disadvantages, just like everything in life. You would reduce the company's share balance immediately, reduce the balances available for new investment. You might need to require to borrow or issue new stocks because you got rid of your cash. Then you create shareholder expectation that's hard to reduce. I told you about that. Once you create that expectation, it's hard to cut back. And a future cutback could damage investor confidence because they don't trust you anymore. Potential investors, they're not going to invest with a company when they know this company in the past, out of nowhere, cut down their dividend. It means they don't know what they're doing, or the company is not consistently profitable. And it's paid after income tax may also be taxable to shareholder, which is versus keeping it, let the stock price increase, let them enjoy capital appreciation, and let them time their own tax when they sell the stock. Let's take a look at this multiple choice question from farhatlectures.com. Northgate Industries expect net income of $600,000, plans capital expenditure of $750,000. The company maintain a target capital structure, 40% debt, 60% equity. So the ratio here is 40 to 60, or 4 to 6, or 2 to 3. Under a residual dividend policy, what amount may Northgate distribute as dividend? Okay, so their capital structure is 2/3. The debt to equity is 2/3. Okay, let's plan this. So we need to spend $750,000 on a new capital investment. Well, we need 60% to be financed via equity. What's 60% of 750? 60% of 750 is $450,000. Now, if this is what we need from equity, and we have income of $600,000, we need to keep $450,000. So what's left is $150,000 as dividend. The answer is B. You have to be very careful. You have to be very careful. So they might ask you, what is the debt finance through, what's the capital budgeting finance through that? Well, what's financed through that is 40%. So if you take 750 times 40%, so if you take 750 times 0.4, 300,000 is financed through that. So to finance this $750,000 project, this capital expenditure, we are going to borrow 300 and use 450 from the retained earning. And as a result, guess what? Our ratio would remain 4/6, or 2/3, because if I take 300,000 divided by 450, you know how much it is? It is 2/3. It's 2/3. So 300 divided by 450. So, which is 2/3, or 0.666, 2/3, the same thing. So the point I'm trying to make here, the reason why they give you the capital structure, because they want to keep this capital structure the same. Now, a more complex problem would say, and they're planning to change their capital structure to 50-50, then you have to change the whole thing. Now, generally speaking, on the CPA, CMA exam, they don't give you those changes. Maybe on the CFA exam they do, but you know, we don't teach for the CFA exam. Anyhow, what should you do now? Go to Farhat Lectures, look at additional resources, cases, lectures, multiple choice, true, false exercises, AI. For example, AI can help explain any topic you would like to, explain the correct and incorrect answer, create a similar MCQ. The best investment you can make is invest in yourself, and God bless.